Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, where we help IGNOU students learn smarter and score better. In today's lecture, we'll explore Unit 16 Cooperation and Partnership from MED002 Sustainable Development, Issues and Challenges. This unit focuses on something very important: how working together, whether it's governments, NGOs, cooperatives, technology networks, or local communities, can make development truly sustainable. We'll look at inspiring real-world examples like AMUL, the Chipko movement, SAARC cooperation, and many more. So, let's get started, and remember, understanding how people and institutions collaborate is of utmost importance for achieving sustainability. The concept of sustainable development emphasizes the need for collective effort. This means no single group, not even the government, can do it alone. Development becomes meaningful only when everyone participates, from local communities to international organizations. We can say that cooperation and partnership act like the backbone of sustainable growth. For example, think about how environmental protection works. The government makes laws, NGOs spread awareness, scientists provide solutions, and local people take action. All these actors form a network of partnership that keeps development inclusive and long-lasting. So, this unit introduces us to those collaborative roles and shows how working together can balance economic, social, and environmental goals. Here, we see how the government plays an important role in promoting sustainability. Governments have the power to make and enforce policies, and that's the foundation for action. The first key point here is population control and women's empowerment. When women get education and opportunities, families become healthier, smaller, and more stable, directly supporting sustainability. The second point is about employment generation using local resources. This means promoting industries that suit local skills and materials, like handicrafts, handlooms, or agro-based work. The next role is conservation and protection of clean water, fertile soil, forests, and biodiversity. Governments must take strong steps to prevent overuse of natural resources. And finally, developing sustainable infrastructure, cities, roads, and transport systems that use renewable energy and cause less pollution. In short, the government leads the way, but success depends on cooperation with people and institutions. Let's switch to the next slide to understand how governments actually implement sustainability. First government measure is organizing policy-making workshops and events. These bring together ministers, scientists, cooperative leaders, and environmentalists to share ideas and plan actions. Second, the government provides legal and institutional support. For example, environmental laws that protect forests and rivers, or acts that empower local bodies like panchayats. Next, they run pilot projects, small experiments that test sustainable ideas before expanding them nationwide. For example, if a rainwater harvesting project works well in one district, the same idea can be implemented in other districts too. Governments also collaborate with international agencies, like the UN, FAO, or World Bank, to learn from global experience. They also include panchayats and civil groups, ensuring that local voices are part of decision-making. So, government partnership is both top-down and bottom-up, policies from above and participation from below. Now let's move to next slide to understand the role of NGOs. NGOs, or non-governmental organizations. They play a huge role in bridging the gap between government and people. NGOs are voluntary and non-profit organizations. They work in areas like health, education, environment, women's rights, and rural development. Because they operate close to communities, they understand people's real needs. For example, organizations like Oxfam, CARE, or BRAC in Bangladesh run health and education programs in poor areas and reach underserved communities. In India, many NGOs carry forward Gandhian principles, self-help, equality, and rural empowerment. Their biggest contribution is creating awareness and encouraging people to take part in local issues, whether it's waste management, tree plantation, or literacy campaigns. So, NGOs act as the linking chain, connecting policies with people. On the next slide, we'll look at some of the key activities performed by the NGOs. Let's see some of the key activities that NGOs perform. First, they provide disaster relief and rehabilitation, helping victims of floods, earthquakes, or droughts. For example, after the 2004 tsunami, Indian NGOs helped rebuild homes and restore livelihoods. Second, they run mobile health clinics and informal schools, especially in rural and tribal areas where government facilities are limited. Third, they organize skill training for youth and women, things like tailoring, computer literacy, or handicraft production, so people can earn sustainable livelihoods. Fourth, they take part in environmental protection through tree planting drives, awareness campaigns, and recycling initiatives. And finally, they use public interest litigations or PILs to demand justice for people, like stopping polluting industries or protecting forests. All these activities make NGOs essential partners in sustainable development. Now, let's switch to next slide to look at another form of partnership, that is, cooperatives. Let's try to understand that. What are cooperatives? Cooperatives are democratic, member-owned organizations. They operate in various sectors: agriculture, dairy, credit, housing, and more. The goal is simple: work together for mutual benefit. For example, a group of farmers can form a cooperative to buy seeds in bulk and sell their produce at fair prices. This reduces exploitation by middlemen and increases income. Cooperatives also promote equity and self-reliance. Every member has one vote, regardless of wealth. They encourage local empowerment by making decisions together as a community, which helps reduce exploitation and boost income. In short, cooperatives are a powerful tool for both economic and social progress. Cooperatives have been part of our culture since ancient times. Let's switch to the next slide to explore this in detail. Cooperation is not new to Indian culture. It has been part of our culture since ancient times. The first form was Kula, or the extended family system, where relatives worked together for their social and economic welfare. Next came Grama, the village organization, similar to today's Gram Sabha. It looked after common land, water sources, and public works like roads or temples. Then we had Sreni, which were guilds of artisans, craftsmen, and traders. These were like the ancient version of business associations. They ensured quality, provided training, and supported members in need. And finally, Jati, or caste-based organizations, which perform social and charitable work, like education, relief, or rituals. These forms show that the spirit of cooperation has deep roots in Indian society. Even before formal cooperatives existed, people believed in working together for collective welfare. Let's switch to the next slide to discuss how the nature of cooperatives further evolved in India after independence. When India became independent, the government focused on planned economic development through the 5-year plans. And cooperation was seen as an important tool to uplift the rural and poor population, to reduce inequality. One of the best examples is Operation Flood, led by AMUL and NDDB, the National Dairy Development Board. This program turned India from a milk-deficient country into the largest milk producer in the world. AMUL became a symbol of how collective action and local management can bring national success. Over the years, cooperatives expanded into different sectors, like agriculture, sugar production, textiles, credit, and housing. They have empowered many people, especially in rural and tribal areas, and promoted self-reliance and reduced exploitation. In short, cooperatives became a true movement that brought positive changes to economic, social, and cultural life. On the next slide, we'll learn about the structure of cooperatives. India has a 3-tier structure of cooperatives. This structure ensures proper coordination, accountability, and communication between local and national levels. Let's break it down step by step. First, we have primary societies. These operate at the village level and consist of individuals, such as farmers, artisans, or consumers who come together for a common purpose. This could be credit, dairy production, housing, or other community needs. Second, there are state federations. These coordinate the work of several primary societies within a state. They offer training, financial assistance, and act as a bridge between local cooperatives and the government. Third, we have national federations. These include organizations like the National Cooperative Union of India, NCUI, and other apex bodies. Their role is to promote, guide, and connect cooperatives across the country. This 3-tier structure makes sure that decision-making starts at the grassroots level, and support and policy guidance come from higher levels. It creates a perfect balance between local initiative and national support, which is a key reason why cooperatives remain strong in India. Let's switch to the next slide, where we'll discuss the different types and functions of cooperatives. There are mainly 4 types of cooperatives, and each performs different functions. Let's go through them one by one so it's easier to understand. First, we have agricultural credit cooperatives. These help farmers get easy loans for seeds, tools, or fertilizer. They protect farmers from exploitation by moneylenders and also promote eco-friendly farming practices. Second, there are marketing and consumer cooperatives. These cooperatives make sure farmers and consumers get fair prices. They sell products directly and buy goods in bulk to keep costs low. For example, super bazaars run by consumer cooperatives provide good quality products at reasonable rates. Third, we have industrial cooperatives. These cooperatives are formed by artisans, craftsmen, and small-scale workers. They share resources, get training, and sell their products together, making their work more efficient and competitive. Fourth, there are dairy cooperatives, like AMUL. These cooperatives connect milk producers directly with consumers. They ensure fair prices for farmers and provide better technology for production. So, as we can see, cooperatives not only handle money but also strengthen communities, support livelihoods, and promote equality. Their main goal is not just to make profit but also to serve people, and that's what makes them truly sustainable. On the next slide, we'll see how cooperatives directly contribute to sustainability. Cooperatives are important for sustainable development. Their impact is not just economic, but also positive for society and the environment. Let's look at some specific ways cooperatives contribute to sustainability. First, they raise awareness about sustainability. They teach people to use resources responsibly and protect nature. Second, they promote eco-friendly practices. For example, they encourage people to use biofertilizer, plant trees, and reduce waste. Third, they support the use of renewable energy. For example, they promote biogas for cooking and solar panels for electricity. Fourth, they improve health and sanitation in communities. This includes projects for clean water, toilets, and proper waste management. And last but not least, they empower communities to become self-reliant. People take charge of their own development instead of relying on the government. In short, cooperatives are not just about earning, they are also about learning, sharing, and sustaining life together. Now, let's move on to the next slide and explore technology networks. This is where science and technology connect innovation with rural communities. Technology networks act as a bridge between science and rural areas. They ensure that new inventions are simple, low cost, and practical for local use. For example, a research lab might create a water filter using local materials like sand and charcoal. With the support of NGOs, that technology can reach rural communities and improve their lives. The key here is collaboration between scientists, NGOs, and villagers. All contribute to improving rural life. Local knowledge makes technology more relevant. It also helps the end users feel ownership of the idea. So, technology networks are not just about machines. They are about connecting knowledge, people, and innovation. Let's switch to the next slide and take a look at some of these initiatives. First, let's talk about ICAR, the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. ICAR has developed improved seeds, introduced crop rotation, and created eco-friendly ways to control pests. These innovations help farmers grow more crops while protecting the environment. It's a great example of science improving farming and caring for nature at the same time. Second, there is NISTADS or National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies. NISTADS connects rural artisans with scientists to improve traditional tools. For example, they've developed more efficient pottery wheels and weaving machines. This kind of cooperation shows how science can strengthen traditional knowledge and livelihoods. Third, we have CIMAP or Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants. CIMAP trains rural farmers to cultivate medicinal plants such as lemongrass and mentha. This not only creates jobs but also conserves biodiversity, which is a key part of sustainability. Fourth, let's consider CSIR, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. CSIR works on developing low-cost innovations in energy, water management, and small-scale industries. These innovations make sustainable development affordable and accessible. So, what do we learn from all these examples? Science becomes powerful only when it connects directly with people's lives. That's why people's participation is at the center of technology-driven sustainability. On the next slide, we'll discuss ICT, that is Information and Communication Technology. We'll see why ICT is becoming so important. ICT includes computers, the internet, and mobile communication. And today, it is truly transforming rural life in ways we could hardly imagine before. Let's break it down. First, in agriculture, ICT is changing how farmers work. Farmers now receive real-time weather updates, current crop prices, and expert advice through mobile apps and portals. Projects like eChopal and Tara Haat are examples of how digital knowledge reaches even the remotest villages, which helps farmers take informed decisions. Second, in healthcare, ICT is making quality medical care possible without long journeys. Through telemedicine, doctors in large hospitals can consult patients in remote villages via video calls. This saves time, reduces costs, and often even saves lives. Third, in education, ICT is opening new learning possibilities. Online learning platforms and digital libraries make study materials accessible even in small towns. This means students can learn beyond their local classrooms. Fourth, in governance, ICT promotes transparency and efficiency. People can now access land records, apply for government schemes, or file complaints online, all without unnecessary delays. Fifth, in finance, ICT is making banking easier for everyone. Digital payments and microcredit are now reaching to people of most backward area. So, ICT is not just a tool, it is a bridge between rural and urban India. It empowers people with information, which is one of the most sustainable resources today. Let's switch to next slide and talk about regional cooperation in South Asia. Regional cooperation shows how countries in South Asia work together for sustainable development. And it is very important for the region's overall progress and sustainability. Our region shares many common challenges like poverty, pollution, floods, and climate change. Since these issues are a common problem for many countries, so cooperation is the only solution. The South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC, was created to promote this kind of partnership. It includes countries like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives, and Afghanistan. SAARC supports joint action in areas such as environmental protection, disaster response, and clean energy. For example, countries share weather data during monsoons to predict floods and save lives. They also collaborate on forestry, biodiversity conservation, and energy projects like hydropower. So, sustainability is not just a local or national concern, it is regional and global. To better understand this, we'll look at some examples of regional partnerships on the next slide. Let's see some specific examples of where regional partnerships are most important. First, let's talk about river water sharing agreements. For example, the Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan, and the Ganga Water Treaty with Bangladesh. These agreements help to manage shared river systems, and to prevent disputes between countries, which is very important for the peace and cooperation between them. Second, we have joint disaster early warning systems. Here, SAARC countries share real-time information about floods, cyclones, and earthquakes. This kind of quick information exchange can save thousands of lives every year. Third, there's energy trading and collaboration. For example, Nepal and Bhutan export hydropower to India, and other countries in the region are exploring renewable energy connections. This kind of cooperation helps meet energy needs sustainably. Fourth, let's consider air pollution monitoring. The Asian brown cloud problem has prompted nations to work together on clean air initiatives across South Asia. Fifth, there's cross-border knowledge exchange. Scientists, students, and environmental experts collaborate on climate change and technology research. These examples show something important, that partnerships not only protect the environment but also build trust, peace, and shared prosperity. So, if we remember one thing, it's this: sustainability works best when neighbors help each other instead of competing. Now let's turn to one of the most powerful factors, people's participation. History shows that people's participation makes a difference. When people come together for a cause, real change happens. The Chipko movement in the Himalayas is a famous example, where villagers, especially women, hugged trees to stop deforestation. Their courage inspired policies on forest conservation across India. Next is the Narmada Bachao Andolan, where people protested against large dams that displaced thousands of families. Their voice led to new debates on sustainable and inclusive development. Then there's the Bhopal gas tragedy, one of the worst industrial disasters in India. Victims and activists fought long legal battles for justice and stronger safety laws. People have also used public interest litigations or PILs to protect rivers, forests, and public health. This shows how law can serve the people. These movements prove that sustainability is not only about technology or policy. It's about citizens taking responsibility for their environment. When people participate, democracy becomes stronger, and development becomes fairer. On the next slide, we'll discuss how voluntarism is empowering communities, and people take charge instead of relying on the government. In earlier times, people relied heavily on the government to solve every problem. But that approach often slowed progress and made communities dependent. Now, voluntarism encourages people to take community-driven initiatives. Youth groups, self-help groups, SHGs, and NGOs are taking the lead in solving local issues, from waste management to digital literacy. It also revives traditional Indian values like service, cooperation, and collective well-being. For example, many eco-clubs and rural youth groups volunteer for tree planting or cleaning drives without waiting for government orders. This spirit builds a self-reliant, confident society where everyone contributes, not just complains. So, redefining voluntarism means shifting from dependency to empowerment. Now, let's quickly review the key points we've covered about technology and sustainable development. Let's revise what we have learned so far in this unit. First, sustainable development can succeed only through cooperation at all levels, local, national, and global. Second, the government plays a key role by providing laws, policies, and financial support to make cooperation possible. Third, NGOs bring awareness, compassion, and action to the grassroots level, making sure no community is left behind. Fourth, cooperatives ensure fairness, active participation, and shared prosperity among people. Fifth, technology and ICT make information and innovation accessible to everyone, bridging gaps and empowering communities. Sixth, regional cooperation under SAARC strengthens peace and promotes joint progress in South Asia. And seventh, most importantly, people's participation turns sustainability from just a theory into a living, breathing practice. Together, that brings us to the end of today's lecture on Unit 16 Cooperation and Partnership. I hope this session helped you understand how teamwork between governments, organizations, and people creates real, lasting change. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more IGNOU course lectures and study support. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, sustainable development starts with you. Thank you for watching.